Hello, hello, YouTube. How are you doing this fine day? I'm doing quite well myself. I wanted to throw together a quality build. I miss the days of quality builds from Dark Souls 3 where you would simply hit 40 strength and 40 dexterity or something around that, and your weapons would work quite well, and you had a huge selection of weapons at your disposal. At least that's how I remember it. And it seems in Elden Ring that quality builds are a fair bit harder to wrap your head around, at least when it comes to meta levels. When I've seen people make quality builds online, it seems that they usually hit around level 200, if not level 200 itself. I think I've seen one person do a quality build at 168, but they were an outlier for sure. So it seems that quality builds exist at higher levels. Why? Well, because you need the higher stat investment. When you are using, physical stats at meta level, it seems that leaning yourself towards dexterity or strength usually nets you a higher AR, at least when it comes to the quality infusion. However, there are probably a few weapons that are somber that would probably work as the exception overall. And so I thought to myself, level 200, that's a lot of points. That's a lot of stuff just floating about. That seems a little excessive. Now, I do want to make a level 200 build at some point. I just don't know if quality was the way to go about it. So I set out with the idea of, I'm going to make a quality build, but I'm going to trim the fat a little. Not a whole lot, but just a little. And, well, with the build I've already shown on screen, I was able to shave off 25 levels off of the quality build and still get that crazy optimal damage. We got the 80 points of dexterity for that damage, and of course 54 strength, because when you two-hand with 54 strength, it's going to act like 80 strength. And so, for all intents and purposes, we are doing the highest physical damage that we can with our stats, within reason. There's, of course, ways to buff it. You could be eating exalted flesh and things like that, but on average, as long as we're two-handing, we're hitting them hard caps with the damage, and the damage is high at this level. And I felt like it was going to be high at everything at 150 plus. 150, I feel like the damage is high. Meta level, the damage can be high if people are built correctly. People have more points to play with. It's only a natural consequence of going up this high. And I liked it. I had fun. There was a little less activity, sure, and I had to wait till the more prime time of the day to get invasions. But when I did, they were fun. They were exciting. The lethality was certainly a huge difference. And look at this silly pivot. Ooh. Tasty 1200 damage on a backstab with a Reaper or Scythe or whatever you want to call it. Oh, it's so good. I think I run into this host twice. I ran into him one day, and then I started recording more footage the following day, and I ran into him again. And I think he remembered me. And you should pay attention, because this is why he remembers me, this clip in particular. And it was interesting. I show up, I start swinging at him, he doesn't decide to fight, and he kind of waited in the other invasion that will happen as well. I don't know if he wanted a 1v1 or what was going through his head. They're hosts. It's really hard to know what's going on. But we go for the early parry because the latency was around 160 or so. It happens to connect. We get the crit, and because we have 80 dexterity, a lightning-infused misericord still chunks. Why wouldn't it chunk? It was actually better off damage-wise for critical hits than a quality misericord. And that's probably because people have low lightning resistance, the AR is a little higher. I'm sure other people have done the math, but when I backstab at stuff for testing and they didn't have a particular resistance to lightning, it felt like lightning outperformed quality with this stat spread. And another neat thing that comes with this stat spread, great bows destroy people. Lots of things destroy people. You have access to so many weapons I've never really played with. In that first clip after I showed you the build, I used the Bloodhound Fang, the curved greatsword. I've never used that thing before. Hardly ever. I might have used it at, like, I don't know, sub-level 25 on a character briefly, and then I move on to different weapons. I've never used it in PvP, let alone extensively. And that sucker hits hard. That sucker has really, really good scaling. It's kind of disgusting. In the opening clip, using the Dragon Halberd, a little boring, but it is a quality weapon. I think it leans strength, while the Bloodhound Fang leans dex. I could be wrong on that, but both are essentially quality weapons after a sort. Hits really hard. It's got that silly lightning true combo that it's got going on that also buffs itself. and you can vaporize some people. I have Stormcaller on the Crescent Axe. I think in a later clip I'll use Stormcaller into an R2 because I was trying to get that to work. For some reason, when I get Stormcaller started, I think of the lightning version that comes on the Stormhawk Axe. Oh, so the fellow I parried earlier who had the high ping, this is me running into him the following day, and it was partway through the fight where I went, wait a minute, I recognize that outfit. For some reason, his friend disappears. Couldn't tell you why. Don't know if he Alt F4'd or if this guy sent him home. It didn't look like it. I don't think he activated any item, but maybe I don't get to see that. Maybe it's just a menu. I don't know. I haven't sent anybody home in a good while, but he remembered me, and he's playing a little more defensive. And I'm not using a scythe this time, I'm using an axe, but he's still trying to endure my face, and instead of going for the attack, he goes for the spell, which would normally be a wise choice, but he's a little too reliant on that endure, which, if you endure while facing away from somebody, you're gonna get backstabbed. And thankfully, it seems like the axe backstab was slow enough that the second hit happened when the endure had worn off. I don't know if that's actually what happened, but it looked like it. So we're going to go with that. Maybe he just had low enough health. I don't know. But I like the Crescent Axe. It's a handsome weapon. It's probably not what you'd stereotypically call a quality weapon. I threw it on the build because it's a handsome weapon. I would love it if this weapon was a tad smaller. Not for game reasons, for historical accuracy reasons. But I understand why they made it the size they did. And I was having trouble with this duo. I was mistiming my rolls when it came to that first initial pull-in of the Stormcaller gravity attack on them greatswords. I was mistiming it all over the place. I'm usually much better at dodging it, but I was having an off moment. Probably because we're in a box and I don't like being in this box. This box is dangerous. But hey, I happened to use that staircase earlier and I fell off of it while getting a heal, and that's what you're supposed to do with those cliffs. I've always been terrible at that historically, so it's nice. But watch this. Bam, 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 and then we put it into an instant R2 into a roll catch. I don't know if I said it correctly, but basically Stormcaller combo for the first 3 hits, and if you R2 after, it's a very good roll catch unless, I don't know, latency or whatever. It's not a true combo. Well, of course not, they roll, but I was gonna say, it feels like a reliable roll catch, and that's a tasty thing. And check this out. Feels kind of mean coming in, backstabbing him, and then immediately catching with a Giant Hunt, but I'm awful with Giant Hunt, so I wanted to give it a go. I want to play with it a little more because I'm so bad with it. But I feel like every time you get Giant Hunt to succeed, and you make the hit, it looks so good. You pop somebody into the air at a 45-degree angle, boom, instant gratification. And I can't deny that. And it seems like it's a little more reasonable to land than, say, a stamp uppercut. I think a lot of people know to stay away from a stamp uppercut, though I should probably play with that too, because having the capacity to trade with a stamp uppercut is wonderful. All in all, I like the quality build. I don't know if 175 is the best bracket for what I have done here. I just wanted to trim the fat on a quality build, and I kind of want to trim it a little more. I want to see what can be done when you have 40 and 40 strength decks or something like that, or maybe we'll slate the spread a little bit, but I want to see if I can get quality as an infusion to work at meta level. It may not be possible, or not that it's not possible, but it may not be reasonable with the quality infusion. I may need to rely on somber weapons that are quality in terms of what they scale with. So that'll take a little more experimentation. I'm sure there's people far smarter than I am, more well-versed in the game, who have already done all that legwork, and I should probably look into it a little more. But look at that. Giant Hunt. Pop the host up at a 45-degree angle. Oh, it is oh so very satisfying. It makes me happy every time I happen to do it. And then, of course, I take the Bolt of Grandsack's head on because I can help but throw little lightning pots. It's basically a dex build with a ton of strength, honestly, the way I played it. The lightning pots are probably your best pot option for getting big chunks of damage because you have that 80 dexterity because you're trying to max out your damage. And, ooh, we're able to take out that poor host with a rain of arrows, and then we endure into the tasty Misericord backstab, and we teach those hiding hosts quite the lesson. I haven't done that too often, endured into a backstab. That's new for me. I've seen other people do it, and they're really cool and very attractive when they do that sort of thing. And I am not one of those individuals, so that's something I need to practice. So here, I get too tied up with the Regal Roar and make myself an easy backstab target. So Regal Roar has a bit of a startup, kind of reminds me of the Star Caller Cry that comes with Radahn's Greatswords. So you gotta be wary that you're keeping yourself open. Maybe face behind, make sure your back is up to a wall or something of that sort. But look at that heavy attack. Oh my gosh. I haven't played with the Axe of Godfrey either. It's in that list of somber weapons I've not touched very much at all, along with the Dragon Halberd and the Bloodhound Fang. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that would necessarily go in that bracket or that grouping, and nothing's coming to mind just yet, but I think that's one of them. It's just somber weapons I have not played with, boss weapons I haven't played with. Oh, the Axe of Godric would be another one. I should have thrown it on the build, maybe another time. That thing also has high requirements and seems to be a quality weapon, but hey. And hey, I learned a couple things from my fist gaming video, and you can bully people with Endure. You can kind of throw caution to the wind and just get in some counter hits, get in some running attacks. You can Endure into your health flask if you really need to. You can be very wasteful and take little damage as a result. And look at that heavy. Ooh, good damage. Maybe not the best quality weapon. Maybe there's a better fist quality weapon, but I love the Endure into heavy. Something about you putting your two fists together and doing an overhead strike is silly, but I love it. It makes me happy. But there's so much a quality build is capable of. I would recommend you try it if you haven't. If you're scared of playing at the more meta levels, this is probably the other end of that hurdle, I would say. Because if somebody's learning PvP for the first time, I would probably recommend that they start at level 60 or 80, probably. The time to kill is a little lower. You still have a semblance of a build. And you get to meet people in crazy environments, and they might be dealing with enemies, which can work to your advantage, especially when you're just trying to learn the basics. If you're scared of meta level because of the gank squads and whatnot, it feels like maybe going beyond it a little bit might also be a way to approach that issue of getting into the PvP. Now, I haven't done it extensively. You will get probably fewer people playing, and it's just a natural consequence. If you have people, you know, everyone's playing Elden Ring, right? They all make characters. There's going to be a whole slew of people at a lower level, right? So that's going to be the most populated. And then how many of those people get to level 40 and beyond? And then you could just take that to its natural conclusion of every level bracket, there's going to be less people. Like, that's just how these games kind of work. That's how, it's just how it is. And look at this guy trying to drill me in the back. So very rude. That's when I knew that they weren't honest despite wanting 1v1s in their names. And that's when it was over for him. It takes a moment to take him down, though, because I realized while I was fighting him, his friend had okay ping in relation to me, but this guy was sitting at like a 250, and it's really hard to make those hits. And of course, he's playing very passive, so he's already going to be able to dodge very well, but it's just like making hits on him was kind of gross. It was kind of difficult to do so, and it was a lot of compensating. So, another thing that your build gets when you're doing a quality build, if you put like Poison or Bleed on a quality weapon like the Godskin Stitcher, it's got like C scaling with both dex and strength, so your damage ain't too bad. Is it optimal? No, of course, you could have a stronger Stitcher by going with a quality, right? But if you just want poison on a stick, and Poisonous Mist will give you that extra poison per poke, I should say, then also a great option. There's a lot you can do. I want to get this build working at a meta level. I don't know if I'll be able to feasibly do it. It may become too reliant on like a Bloodhound Fang or a Dragon Halberd, or maybe, I don't know, maybe even Godfrey's Axe, though that leans more strength. It's barely a quality weapon. I'd say it's at the edge of that bracket. It's mostly a strength weapon. But still, the AR and the damage was huge. I think I surprised people with how much physical damage this thing was doing. Heck, in that opening clip where the guy casts, you know, the Black Flame Protection. Black Flame Protection still gives you a huge buff against physical damage. And I was still smacking that guy for like 400 per hit. And that's still pretty respectable damage, and since there was blood loss as well included, it's phenomenal. So yeah, if you like quality builds, give it a go. I wonder if the 200 level bracket will be more exciting since more people are doing it, and it'll be more plentiful for activity. So that might have been something I gimped myself on by trying to trim the fat and doing so poorly. Look at that wizard, can't help himself. Comets me right in the back. But I deserved it. I was messing with something immediately after the invasion, not even recognizing that there was a blue. But wow, this video's blown by. My goodness. Just so many fun little action-packed moments. The damage was good, and I love the variety of weapons it gets. I love the outfit. I liked being a red main sergeant. I love whenever I make a character and I want to be vaguely lore appropriate. I don't necessarily like giving them names, though that can be neat. I like giving them titles so it looks like they belong to a faction. Like, you know, the Soldier of Godric, he belongs to a faction. He has a title and he's got a rank or whatever, or you know what his job is, essentially. So being a red main sergeant kind of leads itself to people imagining, oh, he's a sergeant in the red main army. What would that lead himself to? So he's like grizzled, he's fought the worst there can be, he's stolen a lot of tricks across his years, you know, he's not an officer. And look at these guys. Oh my goodness, the rain of arrows is kind of gross, and I'm able to take them down. I don't know why they didn't acknowledge me after I shot at them already. You saw that earlier in the clip. I shot at them, they ran back, they went to get their friend, and they just kind of, I guess, assumed I wouldn't be able to get to them. And to be fair, I didn't even know I could jump through that little gap there. Or if I did, it's been so long I had forgotten it. And so here we are, ending the video out. I appreciate you coming with me on this little adventure. I'll have another one prepared for you very soon. I had some longer clips for you, so stay tuned. And I hope you enjoyed yourself. It was good having you. Bye-bye now.